you have to seek out inspiration. That's why things like this podcast are so amazing.
Yeah.
I know for me, like I didn't have anybody who was, you know, doing the entrepreneurial thing or thought that what I wanted to do was a good idea. So I spent a lot of time reading and listening to podcasts and seeking out alternate areas of inspiration, and also just like getting clear with myself and building my own confidence in order to do it. And then a big thing for me too that I just want to share for anybody who's like maybe struggling to make the leap. I spent so long saying like, I'm not the type of person to do this. I'm not good enough to do this. I don't know how to be a CEO. Like that's such bullshit. These are just bullshit narratives that we hold that hold us back. And the truth is like your choices define you much more than your abilities do. Like I don't think I'm the smartest person in the room. I just worked really fucking hard and didn't stop when it got challenging, and anyone can do that.
Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Today in the studio, founder of Beekeepers Natural, Carly Stein. What's up?
How's it going?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm good.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited.
You're fired up.
I'm fired up.
You got in the gym this morning. You started lifting weights like I'm going on the Bearded Man podcast today.
I was literally looking in the mirror yelling like Bearded Man.
Let's go.
Yeah.
People are like, what is this girl doing? But you know, the thing is, you live in Venice, so I feel like people are just like, she's just another person in Venice.
It's just her mantra.
She's totally cool. 2.5 years right now with Beekeepers Natural.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you launched this in August of 2016 because
we're twins.
That's when this podcast was launched. So even when I was doing the research for this, I was like, oh my God, let's go. Literally the same exact month. Talk to me about what's changed the most about you in that 2.5 years. Because I think about the person I was when I started this to who I am, and I can only imagine how much you've probably changed within that 2.5 years.
Yeah, I am a different person.
Yeah.
I'm a totally different person. I think the biggest change is confidence. Like just the more you do things that scare you that you never thought you could do, and you're like, oh, actually,
I could do this.
Yeah.
I can do this.
I got this. So what you understand that you're capable of just completely changes, and the doors kind of open. And I'm so confident in my ability to take on new things and kind of learn new things.
Yeah. Was there, before you launched this, had you ever started something growing up? Was there ever a business or maybe like a passion thing that you were putting a lot of time and energy into?
No, I mean, I like my family likes to tell this story when I was like really little.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 years old. I had a babysitting summer camp for caterpillars. So I've always really liked bugs.
What?
Yeah, that was my earliest venture.
Where did the bugs interest come from?
I don't know. I've always loved animals. I've always loved nature, animals, every single animal I'm obsessed with.
Okay.
So I've always just been kind of a nature girl, and I had this brilliant idea as a child that, you know, people have all these caterpillars in their yard, and what happens when they go to work? Who's caring for the caterpillars?
I'm gonna start
Hole
a business
in the market.
So were you charging your neighbors fees to watch them?
Yeah, and they were all paying. And the thing is that like if a little girl shows up to your house with like a mason jar and is like, "Hi, I'm here to babysit your caterpillars," you're not gonna say no.
Yeah, you're gonna give some money up. You're gonna want to donate towards the cause.
I'd go into their backyard, like spend an hour collecting caterpillars.
Yeah.
Watch them all day. It was not a scalable business, but
it was a starting point.
Yeah.
You said you love animals. What's the favorite animal? Don't tell me it's bees.
Hard.
I know on brand the answer would be say bees, but
I really love bees.
if it wasn't for bees, what would
if
it
it wasn't for bees, I love like lions and tigers.
Fierce.
Yeah.
Just gonna go after it. Is that what you find? Is that your spirit animal?
I mean, I think my spirit animal is a bee.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That's the branded answer right there.
It is very on brand, but somebody gave me, I live in Venice, so if you've seen these like animal oracle cards.
No.
So people do this thing where
they're a different world too.
Yeah,
like I know we're
Venice
both living in
very
LA,
special.
but I forgot to say, I'm sure you guys were like, where the hell are we pulling over? There's all these RVs on the next street over, but very different worlds. Go on.
Yeah. So also different world for me, because I moved here from New York a year ago. And like I was living in Manhattan, working in finance. So now I live in Venice, and people have like animal spirit cards casually at parties.
Yeah.
So very, very different. But I was at a party and somebody pulled a card for me, and it was the bee. And it was talking about the significance of the bee, and it's very community oriented. It's all about like the greater good, collective whole, feminine energy. And so like a lot of stuff I was like, okay, well,
makes sense.
Not wrong.
Definitely makes sense. Talk to me about the childhood. It was Toronto that you grew up, right?
Toronto.
What's this place like for you growing up as a kid?
Toronto was a great place to grow up. So, I mean, other than my caterpillar thing, I wouldn't say I was a super entrepreneurial kid.
Yeah.
My dad is a lawyer, and he worked a lot with startups. And so he definitely exposed me to a lot. Super tight with him. He would like bring me to business meetings as, you know, a 10-year-old, and I would like sit in the corner and listen. And so as much as I wasn't really starting things, I was very much exposed. I always really felt like I had a seat at the table, and I was always challenged.
Yeah.
My dad and I would have my sister and I solve problems by like going to court, our family court. He would have us pitch things to him all the time. So I kind of was in an entrepreneur boot camp my whole life.
Wow. So he was really kind of getting you into it early on without even knowing it.
He's like an intense dude, and he had 2 girls, and he's like, I want my girls to have
be the tough cookies when they get older. What was the business that he ran?
So he was like a startup lawyer for like a bunch of different startups.
Oh, I got you.
So he just worked with a lot of.
Wow. Who do you think? Obviously, it sounds like he played a role model for you. But is there anyone else that for you was a role model growing up?
I mean, my dad was a major role model for me growing up. He just has like this sort of easy confidence and this idea that like anybody is capable of anything.
Yeah.
And he's a big type of he really champions underdogs, and he's all about, you know, giving people chances. He came from a really tough background and sort of like created his own success.
Yeah.
So that was really amazing to see, and he's just instilled a lot of those values.
Yeah.
So he's definitely my role model. And then beyond him, my grandmother, both my grandmothers, actually, one of them is a Holocaust survivor and endured a lot of different sorts of abuse, and ended up she came from France over to Canada, and she ended up studying science and, you know, becoming a scientist, and that was like pretty rare for that day and age. And then my other grandmother, she's amazing. She was a nurse, and my grandfather passed away very early and kind of left her with a lot of debt and 4 kids, and she just like hustled, would work during the night, got into real estate, and just became this like boss businesswoman, and, you know, made it happen. And so 2 very strong women who were very inspirational to me.
Yeah, talk to me about the grandmother that was the Holocaust survivor. Like, when did you kind of like realize what she had been through? Like, was it through probably middle school or high school? Like
middle school, I would say. Yeah. So I mean,
and she was still alive at the time.
Oh yeah, she's still alive. She's amazing.
Wow.
She's like the coolest. I just saw her when I was in Toronto.
I cannot even imagine the stories from.
She had a crazy situation. So she was born, I think, in Belgium. Or no, she was born in Paris, I think. And her parents were basically taken away, and she had an infant little sister. They hid in the house as that was happening, and then they were hid by nuns, and they lived in like the Hay House, and then they went to an orphanage in Belgium that was like quite abusive, and were raised there. And she just really had every intention of getting out, and she wanted to be adopted. The out of an orphanage is to get adopted by another family. She was, you know, getting older, and like families aren't so keen on adopting older kids, but she had this little toddler sister. And so when she was, I think, 16, a family from Canada wanted to adopt her little sister. And the little sister wouldn't go without her, so she went with them. And then this family was quite abusive to her as well. It was sort of like a Cinderella thing, and she just worked really hard. It was very studious, ended up getting a scholarship and studying sciences. And not only did she overcome that kind of insane adversity, but just in that day and age, having that goal of becoming a scientist as a woman is pretty special.
What a time to live back then, you know, when we had so much of that going on, the world wars, and just there was even thinking to the point there was no cell phones, like you couldn't text people, you know, like if you were gone, you were off the grid.
Oh yeah.
You were completely off the grid. And then you have this massive war that people are losing their lives, they're losing their families. And you hear stories like that, and you're like, I literally should never complain for the rest of my life because I had a family. I was never taken away from them. There's a roof over my head. Like there was food on the table at all times. Why would I ever complain when you hear something like that?
It's true. We're so lucky. And it is really important to remember that stuff just to keep perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's unbelievable. At one point you realized you have this autoimmune condition.
Yeah.
How old were you? And that was like, it would reject antibiotics?
I can't take antibiotics.
At all?
Yeah. Can't take antibiotics at all.
Did you figure this out on a bad way? Like, did you have a big allergic reaction?
I had a major reaction. I was pretty young. I think I was maybe like 11. I was pretty young. Growing up, I could never take antibiotics. And I had a really weak immune system. So I was always sick. Like, chronic strep throat, chronic tonsillitis. And when you have those sorts of things and you can't take antibiotics, I would be out of school for like 3 weeks at a time as a kid.
So you loved it. You're like, I'm out.
I mean,
see you guys later.
It
3
sounds
weeks.
cool in theory, but also like I love school because low key I'm a huge nerd.
Okay.
But it sucked because I was like bedridden.
Yeah.
I was like, if you can think of the worst sore throat feeling you've ever had, and then having that for 3 weeks.
All set.
Yeah, not so fun.
All set with that.
Not so fun.
That's got to be tough though. Even I feel like Advil, you can't even take that, or is that
Advil I can take. It's just antibiotics, but it was like I would get these really aggressive viral infections like tonsillitis and strep, and there was nothing I could really do. And I was just like, if somebody coughed near me, I would get sick. Like such a weak immune system, always kind of like on the edge.
Yeah.
And that was just like the state of affairs for me. And so having that whole thing, it forced me to start really looking in the natural world. So I became really interested in these natural alternatives. And, you know, I would go to these like weird health food stores before it was like bougie and cool. And I was always looking for the natural solution to anything. And it just got me kind of into this world. And I thought it was really fascinating that you can use plants to cure these things that we're using synthetic ingredients to address.
Yeah.
So I was really in love with that world, but I also was kind of disillusioned with it because on the immune boosting side and the practical side, I would find all of these like expensive, cool superfoods that promised to change my life that did nothing. Mm-hmm. So I was always looking and then not really finding, but I was doing really deep research, and it framed this like passion I have.
And you said something just a minute ago about you love school or you love like studying. So you got to nerd out on something that you actually wanted to learn more about.
Exactly.
What did you like, were you always somebody that loved school or in general? Because I feel like a lot of people hate it or they just disliked going to school, but it still plays such an important role.
I was like such an extreme. I loved science, and then like the things I hated. So science, like I always did really well. The things I hated, I literally was terrible. Like I was telling my team at my team retreat that like I failed gym in grade 9. Like that's hard to do.
How do you fail that?
It's really hard to fail that class.
You're supposed to like kill that class.
Yeah, it's
dodgeball,
like it takes
you
effort.
do everything. You just failed it completely.
So if I wasn't super interested, I was like, nope, not for me.
Wow.
And I definitely, I was a good learner when I put my mind to it. I'm a good test taker generally, but I didn't really find that until, you know, high school, college, when I was like, oh shit, I actually need to get in somewhere. I guess I can't skip school all the time.
Yeah, I actually need to study and do well on these exams. What was the inspiration for going to University of Victoria? That's in British Columbia.
Yeah, BC. So first of all, BC is like the coolest place ever.
Ever. Better than LA?
LA's amazing, but like BC's really
I
special. I really wanted to have an experience that wasn't close to home. And then at that time I thought I was going to go to law school, and UVic has a really fantastic law school. And so, you know, I went to my undergrad with the intention of like staying there for law school after that. That didn't happen, but I had the most amazing experience.
Yeah. So you studied law while you were there for the 4 years?
No, I was going to do like law after I graduated my undergrad. Okay. In my undergrad, I did psychology and biology. So I did social sciences.
Wow, psychology and biology?
Yeah.
Double major?
Yeah.
You're a savage. Oh my God. I can't even imagine the amount of courses that must have taken to get that.
It was good. It's like, it was in the social science program, so it all sort of flowed and it was good. Yeah.
And
but I love that stuff. So that's the thing. Like if I love it,
yeah,
I will read every single textbook and like lose my mind. If I find it boring, it's just like
I'm not doing it.
Not going to learn it.
So that 4 years, were you somebody that was like super involved? Were you focusing just on school? Were you going out a lot? What was the call you like of that 4 years?
I was a good blend. I mean, school was really, especially because I thought I was going to go to law school, and UVic has it's a really good law school. So I mean, I had to keep the GPA up. So, and also like I was there on scholarship for my first year, and I was like paying for myself, so I had to keep the scholarship thing going.
I hear you.
So school was a thing. I started cheerleading just because one of my roommates was on the cheerleading squad, and I grew up dancing, and so I was into that. And I partied a lot. I had a lot of fun. UVic's
right there with you. Right there with you.
UVic's an awesome school too, though, because they have the nature component. So it was a lot. I did a lot of like outdoor stuff, and that's like very in line with my personality. And going back to like loving nature and loving all the creatures. Say,
it all kind of full circles and connects. Was that like was that a class you could take, or was it
I didn't take their, I'm sure they have some cool weird classes at UVic. I didn't take any, but I just did a lot of like I lived right near a mountain, and we would like go hang out at the beach all the time.
Yeah. That's not bad. That's not bad during the college years when you have all that free time.
Oh, it was so good.
I kind of laugh now looking back at the amount of time I utilize in a day compared to when I was in college, and
Isn't it insane?
I wish I knew how much time I had.
Oh my God,
because
it's crazy.
I would be so much in a different spot, you sleep in till 9 or 10 a.m. You go to class for 3 hours of the day. It's a big deal. And then you get out, you go grab lunch with a friend. It's such, like, life is bliss in that 4 years of college. And it's not till you get out and you're like, wow, I literally was on vacation for 4 years.
Yeah.
I had to take a couple exams, but other than that, it was college is such a open schedule, doing really whatever you want.
Yeah.
So you're studying abroad, and that is in Italy, I believe. Yeah.
So I was studying in Sweden. And the time I got really sick, I was in Italy. So
Rebro University, that's in Italy.
Rebro's in Sweden.
In Sweden,
yeah.
Okay.
Love Scandinavia, so that was great. And then the cool thing too about studying in Sweden is that at least the school I went to, they do one course every like 5 weeks versus having a full course load. So it was literally, and also best thing ever, the final exam can be 100% of your grade. And I'm a good test taker. So I would literally go travel around, fly back on like Ryanair for like $10, write an exam, and then go to my next destination. So really, that's like I don't know if that's still the structure, but really good life hack for anyone who wants to study abroad.
Everyone's like looking it up right now. That's where I need to go.
So that was really great. So I had an incredible time. And then when I was in Italy, I got really sick. I got really severe tonsillitis to the point where it was hard to breathe, and I was going to have to come home and have surgery. And I was like, fuck that. Like, I busted my ass waitressing to get out here. I worked really hard and had to get, certain grades to make this happen. And I'm just like, I'm done with this. I'm always sick. I'm always missing out. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I was looking for anything to keep me out there. And I went into a pharmacy when I was in Florence. And the pharmacist took one look at me, and I had like swollen cheeks. Like, bad. I don't know if you've seen anyone with bad tonsillitis.
No.
But she took one look at me, and she's like, propolis. And I had no idea what that was. And she's like, from the bees. And I was like, oh, cool, honey. She's like, no, propolis. I was like, okay, sure, I'll try it.
Were you nervous to try it as being somebody that is literally allergic to everything?
I was super nervous, but I was also like, it literally can't get worse.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose, right?
Like worse. Yeah. So, and I also knew, like, I know what I react to, and coming from, and like I did kind of check it out after I purchased it, of course, just because like I'm a person who has to do that. But I started using it, and it was like this like black tincture. There was no brand on it. It just said propolis.
Sketch.
And then it was like in Italian. I was like, okay, sure. But I started using it, and in about 5 days, I noticed a radical difference. And my body, I had the response that probably you and normal people experience when they take antibiotics, that experience of actually recovering and healing. And I hadn't had that before. And so I was like, okay, this is kind of a game changer. And then I started doing a lot of research on it. And I learned that we have a really deep medicinal history with propolis. Like, the first recorded human use dates back to 300 BC.
Wow.
Yeah, Aristotle coined the term propolis. During the Boer War, they used it to dress wounds. Like, there's all these amazing medical applications, and it's certainly not new. And then if you look at it as a compound, propolis has over 300 beneficial compounds in it. It's antiviral, it's antifungal, it's antimicrobial, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. So perfect for combating a virus, perfect for just like boosting your immune system.
Even like a day-to-day use, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, I use it every day.
Wow. So that was like the moment of realizing there is a product that I can take that's actually benefiting me.
Yes. So I was like, okay, there is some truth to this whole natural thing. And then, so I stayed on in Europe, and as I was traveling around, and Europe's very progressive with their natural health compared to North America. As I was traveling around, I started to learn more about bee products generally. So I remember being in Copenhagen and getting a smoothie, and they had bee pollen as a topping. Or in France, they had like royal jelly and all of their skincare products. And propolis was at, like, I just found it at a pharmacy in Italy. I didn't go to like some cool natural place. Like this stuff was fairly commonplace. And I just started learning about it, both learning about it by using the things and just researching it and talking to people. And then the other interesting part was that there wasn't really a brand around it. It was just sort of like one-off bee product, anti-aging.
If you know about the product, you're getting it. If not, there's nobody that's like loud, like this is the best product of all time.
But people were using it in like a really broad way to cure different things. And so it was really interesting for me because I was like, okay, this stuff works. The propolis worked for me. I've got a really sensitive system. I'm not the only person in the world who struggles with autoimmune or is just reactive to antibiotics or, looking for natural alternatives. And so that was sort of the first moment where I was like, okay, there is something there. But I wasn't thinking of starting a business. I didn't think I could do that. I didn't have the confidence to. I was just like, cool, I found something that works. Like, this is my shit.
Just got to keep this in the back of my head and worry about it later.
I was like, this is for me. Yeah. Great. So continued studying abroad. Studying part was,
not much.
Few and
not
far
much.
between.
Yeah, you were traveling.
And then came home to finish up school. And of course, midterms rolled around and I got strep throat because like anytime I'm stressed, immune system just goes down.
Yep.
So I got sick and I needed to get propolis. And I could not find it anywhere. I went to like all the health food stores. Nobody really knew what I was talking about. And this is in 2012. And, I went to school in Canada. It's not like LA wellness scene. So I just couldn't really find it. And then I started going to farmers markets and I found some bee products there, but when I tried them, I reacted to them because they had pesticide exposure, which is a huge issue with bee products today. So I was like, okay, I need this stuff. I can't seem to get it. So I just got online. I found a local beekeeping association. I reached out. I found one person who was in a remote area who I could buy bee products from. He had to be in a remote area because of the pesticide exposure.
Just way away from everything else.
Exactly, yeah. I wanted to make sure I could get stuff that I could take and wasn't going to react to. And also, if you're buying health foods, you don't want to be exposing yourself to toxins. Like, you're generally taking this stuff to detox. So I also just wanted to find a quality source. So I was really just planning on like purchasing this stuff as a consumer. So I went out to buy it from him for my first time. And my first time I saw an apiary, which is a bee farm.
Oh, wow. And you had to dress up in the whole uniform?
No, I just walked in because I was just buying it from him. And yeah, with the whole uniform, unless you're like beekeeping and opening the hives.
Gotcha.
I mean, I shouldn't say this. Like, everyone should definitely proceed with caution, wear a beekeeping uniform around bees.
Yeah.
I do not do that.
Yeah. I'm just a badass. I don't need it.
Actually, Kat's first day working at Beekeepers, I got stung by like 100 bees.
No way.
100? It was a lot. Yeah. We had to go to the ER. We didn't actually go in. We just sat in the parking lot. I was like, I'm fine. Just spray some propolis. Yeah, I shouldn't have been around the bees though, because it was too windy. Like, it wasn't the right conditions. And so
they get aggravated. They
were being blown into me. And the thing too is, like, once one bee stings you, it sends the alarm signal for a predator. So you're more likely to get stung. And they were like getting caught in the dress I was wearing. And I just ended up getting stung. Like, I'm not allergic to bees, but I got stung so many times that
you're definitely going to have anybody's going to have a reaction to that 100 times. Like, I would freak out.
So yeah, Kat was a rock star.
Welcome to Beekeepers, right?
Your initiation. God. No, she was honestly so good. I'm so lucky she was there.
Where's the propolis coming from? Like, are you taking a bee and then like what? How are you getting that?
No, so propolis, it's harvested and it's made in a totally different way. So this is how you can break it down. The bees use honey as their carbs, their energy source. Mm-hmm. They collect honey from floral nectars.
Yep.
It's their food. Propolis they make from plant and tree resins, so the base ingredient is a little more adaptogenic, medicinal in nature, and they put it through their enzymatic process and they use it to line the hive and keep it germ-free. So totally different function in the hive. It functions as the protector, literally lining the cell walls for newborn baby bees. They'll line the inside of the cells for newborns to create a sterile environment.
Wow.
A really cool propolis fact, let's say a predator gets into the hive like a mouse. The bees can kill it and sting it, but they can't physically pick up a dead mouse and carry it out of the hive. Mm-hmm. So once they kill it, they'll mummify it in propolis. And it's that powerful of a protective, antibacterial, antimicrobial agent that it protects the entire hive from a decaying rodent in their living room.
Whoa.
So it's like the protector.
Whoa, this is some powerful stuff.
Yeah. It's like the OG antibiotic. Like, this is what people were using before they had a lot of like the modern medicine things that we use today.
Yes.
And it's like plant-based and natural. And
it's very clean.
yeah.
It's what everybody wants to be taking.
Yeah, and it's very easy on your system. So, you know, I'm not somebody who's against modern medicine by any stretch, but it's definitely, there's, you know, a place for everything, and not everything's right for every person. And with antibiotics, it can be really aggressive. Like you're kind of just throwing a bomb into your body.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice. You have no idea what this stuff really is doing to your body. You just prescribe to take it, so you think the doctor has the right to tell you yes, then you probably should take it.
And you can kill off a lot of the good bacteria as well in your gut, which is really important. So it can really throw off your body. And people, you know, there's overprescription is a problem. People will be on the wrong types of antibiotics for too long, and you can really wreak havoc. So having something that has the same sort of effect when it comes to killing the germs, getting you healthy, keeping you healthy, but isn't going to destroy your gut or, you know, kill off all the good bacteria or just be really harsh and aggressive on your system, there's definitely an important place for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're graduating, how does this happen? Like, are you still just on the side making these products for yourself? Because you graduate and then you start working at a hedge fund, which is Gen Fund Management.
Yeah.
And then you ended up spending 2 years at Goldman Sachs. So are you, while working for both of these companies, just making on the side for yourself, slowly giving out to friends?
Pretty much. So what happened? So back to that apiary, my first time seeing it when I was just trying to buy product.
Yeah.
I saw the bees, and of course, like, nature girl in me was like, this is fucking awesome. So I saw it, and I instantly was just, I actually, not to be woo woo with it, but I felt like very connected. I was just like, this is something I have to be around. I don't know what it is, but I'm so excited.
The energy of it, you loved it.
Yeah, it was super cool. So after that, I went to this guy and I was like, can I work for you for free? And so I became a beekeeper's apprentice.
Whoa.
And literally everyone thought I was crazy. Like, now beekeeping is sort of hipster.
Yeah.
But
you started the wave. I did
start that trend. But when I started doing it, my friends were like, sorry, what are you doing with like this dude and like 100,000 bees on Saturday?
Whoa. And so what, you just go there on the weekends and just help out?
I'd go there on the weekends, help out. And then I had the added benefit of being a student. So I would, you know, pull in our university database. I would take these raw products I'd harvest from the hive to the lab and start messing around with it. Like, that was where the first time I figured out how to do like an alcohol evaporation and do it at like really low heat so you don't compromise the product. So I was just like playing mad scientist just for myself, really not thinking about this as a company at all. But I was like, let's make the perfect products for me. And I'm such a perfectionist. So if I start doing something, I'm like, let's make this the best. So I'm making these products for me, and I'm healthier than ever. I radically changed my health, and then I started sharing them with my roommates and friends, and next thing you know, people are Facebook messaging me on campus to try bee products. And that was another interesting moment, because I was like, okay, broke college students who don't really give that much of a shit about their health are willing to pay a premium for these weird bee products. That means they're working for a broader population than myself. And that means that people actually have an appetite for something that's more natural and more sustainable and will have the same, like, the desired health outcome. And something as well that's not just going to like get rid of the sore throat and get rid of like whatever sickness you have, but be net better for your health. So in addition to getting rid of like cold, flu, sore throats and boosting your immune system, propolis is really high in antioxidants. It's full of caffeic acid, vitamins, minerals. It's anti-inflammatory. It's good for digestion. It's prebiotics. So there's all these reasons to take it. And so beyond just like dealing with either the symptom, which a lot of like CVS over-the-counter stuff, it just masks the symptom. It doesn't really cure you. So propolis actually does cure. And then beyond also just treating sort of the thing you're currently dealing with, it net improves your health, which is really awesome. And that's what I look for. And we look for at Beekeepers in like all of our sort of holistic alternatives. We're looking for things that take sort of a 360 approach to health. It's not just what do you have right now and how can we get rid of it, but how can we leave you better than before? Yeah.
It's crazy because what I love so much about this is that as we're going to get into shortly, you didn't just wake up and say, I'm going to just create this product. It just slowly, naturally just became something. It was like the reasoning of why you were starting. It was, one, to help yourself, but then two, you're starting to see other people look and need it. It's like, well, okay, well, maybe I am starting a business now.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, because the hedge fund and working for Goldman Sachs, like that's not such a right field to what you're doing now. Talk to me about like, what was that 3 years like? Like how...
So I have this thing, these bee products. I'm loving them. People are having really good experiences. But still, I didn't have the confidence to start a company. I didn't have any money. And when I was in college, in my summers, I interned at the Bill Clinton Foundation. And one of the things I did there when I was there was I led their prescription drug abuse initiative. So I was doing pharmaceutical research. And then out of that, I was hired by this hedge fund. And, you know, it was a good job out of college. Again, graduating with no money.
Take whatever you can get. Take whatever you can get.
And then beyond the money thing, it was like a good on paper job. It's a job that people, quote unquote, see as successful. And, you know, and although I had these dreams, like it sounds crazy starting a bee product company. Like if I was like, I'm starting an app or something that made sense to people, maybe a little bit different, but it just, I didn't have the confidence to do it. I didn't really have the support system. Not that I did when I ended up doing it, but I didn't think I could. And so I took this job. I loved Gen Fund. It was amazing. I was there for 10 months and then I was recruited by Goldman, bigger brand and different jobs. So I joined Goldman as a trader and I was on the trading floor for a few years. And it was when I was there that I really came back to this because I had this job that was amazing on paper. Mm-hmm. You know, as one of the few women on the trading floor, I was on a team where I was the only analyst. So I was getting like a lot of seniority. I learned a lot. I worked my ass off. It's a lucrative profession, but I was so unhappy. And so it was really interesting because I've never in my life received more external positive feedback because, you know, especially living in Manhattan, you tell people what you do. You're a trader at Goldman. They're like, respect.
She's the real deal.
Yeah.
But also, too, being a woman, I think is, especially now in the world we're living, like just seeing that as working for Goldman Sachs. People are already respecting people working for Goldman Sachs, but now you're a woman working for Goldman Sachs. Yeah. Like, oh, she's the real deal.
Yeah. So I was getting a lot of positive feedback externally, but I had this job that for me, like, I'm just not motivated by the things that most of the people I was working with are. And so it felt really, and I'm very purpose driven and it felt really out of line with my values. And I think when you're living a life that's out of line with your authentic self, you get depressed. And that's what happened. I got really depressed, not to mention I was working stupid
a lot. That's got to be like an 80, 90 hours.
It was pretty wild. It was like, I was really isolated. Like my social life just kind of went away. But yeah, more than anything, I was doing something where I didn't feel that I was having impact. And it was hard to figure that out because I was like, well, I should be happy. I have a great job. I'm living here. I'm, you know, living the life. But I was so miserable because I just felt really alone. And for me, like for some people who, it depends what you're driven by. For me, I'm purpose driven. So I was living a life where I didn't have what I felt was purpose. And so I ended up getting really depressed and I sat down and I made a spreadsheet about happiness. And I was trying to identify when I was the most happy in my life and how I can kind of get back to that state. And the thing I kept coming back to was the bees and making products. And so I was like, okay, I'm allowed to have a weird hobby. There's a dude on the desk with me who flies planes on weekends. Like, this can be like my weird thing. I'll make like weird artisanal bee products the same way you have, you know, maybe you have a friend who like bakes or knits or you're always getting like handmade candles. I don't know. So I was like, I'll just start doing this as my hobby and it'll make me happy. And so I started doing that. I started sourcing bee products from the APRA I worked with in Canada. And I would literally like, I bought some like machinery from Amazon. Oh,
you were really starting to manufacture this yourself, huh?
Yeah, I was like, it was so not conscious. It was just like, well, I guess I need this now. And, you know, like I was basically using my salary to support this wild hobby. Yeah. And I started making these products and, you know, I'd give them to friends and then I was like, okay, well, I have extra. I guess I could go to like a farmer's market or something. So I started standing at farmer's markets on weekends, which everyone thought like, all the people who thought the beekeeping hobby in college was crazy, the like Goldman Sachs day trader standing at farmers markets on the weekend was like,
something's wrong with her.
Yeah, something's wrong with her. This one's a little off. But I loved it because I got to talk about the bees and I was interacting with people and people were using the products and coming back to me with stories of how it. I remember this one girl had like this rash that she couldn't get rid of and she used propolis on it and. I had another woman who she was like, my son's autoimmune and a lot of her family has autoimmune conditions and they can't take even things like NyQuil and propolis was really working for them. And she's like, can I ship a bunch of this to Chicago for my sister-in-law? And so then I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to figure out
how to ship it there, but we're going to figure this out.
So it was all like, that's the thing about this company. it was never meant to be a company.
Yeah.
So it all came from a really authentic place. Like, it wasn't like spot an opportunity in the market and capitalize. It was I really, really want to need this, and now other people really want to need this, so I'm going to get it to them.
Yeah.
So I ended up setting up a website, and it just kind of grew in a grassroots way. And then I started selling it in stores in Canada. And it got to a point where I was selling my product in 600 stores across Canada, including Whole Foods.
And Whole Foods too.
Yeah.
If you get Whole Foods, I feel like it's game over.
Yeah.
Once you have that cosign, it's like she's the real deal.
But I had this like double life, because it was like secret, and then I was like working during the day at Goldman. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it was like just me. It was like wild. And I was literally not sleeping at all, but I was feeling really fulfilled and happy again. I was kind of, in some ways, like getting my hands dirty, building something that was mine, and something where like I saw what it was doing, and I was getting feedback from other people. And on the beekeeping side, the API I was working with, they practice sustainable beekeeping, and so I knew that I was supporting an industry that's really aligned. And then I was also kind of educating about the bees. So I was doing all these things that I really cared about.
Yeah.
And then I kind of had like this day job that was sort of vacuous, and I was like really not happy there, but grateful for it, not only for the work ethic and creating such a challenging environment to start a startup, but also because I was, I bootstrapped it. I was funneling my salary into the company. So I was, I had this fancy job, but I was living like a college student.
Just taking all that money and reinvesting it in yourself. And I would imagine too, it's like when Beekeeper starts doing good, even though you are showing up for that job, you are just fueled knowing that once you get out, you can go work on that. Or even in between, you might have been sending out a couple orders here and there, sending emails. But what was like the moment of you realizing I need to leave this job and go full time? Because I think that must have been either, I would imagine, you're nervous, but you feel like I have to do it, or there's no question, I need to make this leap. Yeah,
that was really hard for me. That was the hardest part. I wanted to leave Goldman, honestly, a year before I did. And then for 6 months, I was having panic attacks every day, because I was like, I want to leave, and like this little business is going well, but what if it doesn't? Yeah. And like, this is a sure thing.
And what if always just screws with your head.
And then also socially, and this was honestly the best thing that ever happened to me, because this is something that's really changed my life. But socially, like, everyone thought it was fucking crazy. Like, everyone's like, just sit in your seat, stay at Goldman, like retire early, and then do whatever weird shit you want to do. But like, this isn't going to work. Like, this is a bad idea. This is you blowing up something amazing. So literally everybody thought, like my friend, like I got intervention, like people thought I was destroying my life. And that was really a gift, because
you're fueling it. It was probably fueling the fire inside you to prove them all wrong.
I just had to make a decision that like, this is my life, and like, I'm going to do this for me, and I don't really give a fuck what anyone thinks. So it was really fortunate to kind of have that experience early, because that's carried me and like my team and how we do things at my company. Like, we're trying to innovate, we're building new things, and we don't really give a fuck what other people think, so we're going to do things the right way. But yeah, it was really hard to leave. So basically it got to a point where the company grew enough that it needed someone to run it full time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not hiring someone else to do my dream job.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And so I just was like, I got to do it. So I left Goldman. Literally everyone had the most negative feedback about that decision. So I booked a flight to Indonesia, and I was like, I need to get away from everyone. And I worked in a co-work space in Ubud. This is the best co-work space ever. It's called Ubud. It's in Bali.
Yeah.
And
everybody loves Bali.
Oh my God.
I feel like if people that live in LA, they live half time here and then half in Bali.
I would
for the
love
year.
to do that. I mean, Bali is amazing.
Different world, huh?
It's just the best. It's just the best. But it was so great, because I got away from all the voices and all of the judgment.
Yeah.
And I was able to just sit down with my business and start really planning. And so that was kind of like the time where I put together proper projections. I put together a proper business plan. I started formulating some other products, and I had like a plan to bring some new SKUs to market, and really just kind of legitimizing the company. And I came back and put it all to action. I came back 3 months later, put it all to action, raised a little bit of money.
And just said, I'm going all in. And
that's a year ago today.
That's a year
ago. Not today, sorry.
But pretty much a year ago.
Yeah.
Now, at least starting with the spray, right? The Propolis spray. How hard was this to I know you had said you'd stumbled. This was like the first product, right?
Yeah.
But how hard was it to come up with something that I can consume and buy? Because I would imagine there's a process for, I have a product that I want people to consume. What's that like, going through either the FDA or that whole
it was
process?
really hard. So we're all natural. So we dealt in Canada we have
I'm firing this up right now.
do it up. Yeah. We have NPNs. So those are natural product numbers. And basically we have to legally validate all of the claims we make. So I'm not a lawyer and I had no idea what I was doing there. And I couldn't afford a lawyer, but I was really lucky because one of my best friends was a corporate lawyer.
Amazing.
So
it's all about who you know.
Yeah, my BFF, Daniel Miller.
We're going to try this. Just one spray?
Do 3.
3?
Yeah.
Just go for it?
Do it, yeah.
Oh, I'm in.
It tastes good, right?
Yeah.
There's no sugar.
I thought it was going to be some type of bitterness too,
No.
but
There's 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories. It's just propolis, non-GMO veggie glycerin, and water. Super clean, and there you go. You're not going to get sick. And I know that
I like
some of the people in your crew are sick right now.
I know. I'm gonna have to have my buddy before he gets out of here spray some of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Going back, sorry, I was caught up trying to open the package. So what was that?
Yeah, so my best friend is a lawyer, and
Okay.
I was just like, dude, I really need help with this. So he starts helping me out, and he is really interesting because he is like where I've always been a little bit of like a hippie chick. He thinks that all of the health food stuff is like bougie Whole Foods millennial bullshit. And so, but he's like, I'll help you because you're my friend. So he's helping with the NPN applications and going through that process. You have to get, can you hear that I'm Canadian?
Yeah,
process?
I love it. I wasn't going to say anything, but I was like, yep, there she is.
But going through that, he had to go through all the research. And so once he saw that, he's like, okay, these are legitimate claims we're making here. And I was like, yeah, I know. And then he started using it, and he was articling at a really big firm, pulling all-nighters, not leading the healthiest lifestyle. And he was always getting sick, and he would go to CVS and just spend like $50 on everything in the cold and flu. Yeah, so he started using the products. He started using the Propolis, and he was like, this took away my sore throat, and I'm feeling pretty good. And then he came back to me, and he's like, hey, so I know I've been helping with all the lawyer stuff, but I want to get involved. I think this is like the real deal, and I really want to get involved in a big way. And I was like, okay, well, you're the best, but you're not a beekeeper. Yeah. And everyone in senior management has to be a beekeeper at this early stage because we're a sustainability-driven company, so sorry. And then he goes out and he did an apprenticeship course in beekeeping. And like this dude is working like stupid hours during the week.
And he's going on the weekends to just get his apprenticeship.
Yeah. And he came back to me a full beekeeper, and I was like, okay, you're the best person in the world.
Wow. So
and
he was committed to the vision.
He was committed, and he quit the legal profession a year ago, and he's now our COO. Yeah, he's the best.
Oh my God. What's that apprenticeship like? Is it a serious training? Is it just a couple weekends or?
I think everyone's different in different geographies, but I think his was like three or 4 months, and it was just every weekend for 3 or 4 months. And it was like all day, all Saturday, Sunday, working with the bees, working with some master beekeepers, and just basically learning it.
Wow. That's crazy that he starts out as the friend that's like, I'll help you out, but I don't know if this is really going to work out, to now the CEO. You said COO?
COO, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome because, and I love that perspective because I'm pretty deep into like all the wellness stuff, and he comes from a totally different vantage point, and we're building products for every person. So it is really important to kind of have that. And I love when people on our team have like a healthy dose of skepticism. It forces us to just build better products. Like there's so much in the natural world that is marketing that makes a lot of claims and doesn't deliver. And our whole, like our tagline of our company is naturally sourced, obsessively tested. Like we're using all natural ingredients to make healthier versions of all the bad shit you have in your medicine cabinet. So the core of what we're doing, like it's stuff that works, it's stuff that you can rely on, and it's stuff that's going to be way better for you than what you're normally
And you
using.
want people that you're working with to ask questions or to
100%.
or to put a question mark on things, because if they're always agreeing with you or saying, oh, you're right, let's do that, then you're never going to be able to think outside the box, where if you have people that are questioning your own decision making, it's not a bad thing because it's forcing you to think outside the box and possibly see where they're coming from.
I love that. And my company, it's full of entrepreneurs. It's full of like super entrepreneurial, challenging, intelligent, independent thinkers. And they're always bringing up new ideas and, you know, bringing their own flair to it. And like, that's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the world now. It's especially if you're, as we were talking about before, it's like if you can get into a business that's young or 15, 20, 30 people on a team. Oh yeah, those things stick. Yeah, sorry, it's a pain in the ass. The beer doesn't want to leave the cup. You see how that works? But it's amazing because then they feel as if it's literally part of their company now, because they're seeing like their own actions happen before their eyes, and it gives them incentives to want to go harder.
Totally. It's a really special experience. It's a really special experience for me. I mean, like you have a startup too.
Yeah.
Building a startup is insane. It's like your baby.
Yeah.
But then anyone who joins the team at this stage, it becomes their baby too. Like there are literally, like at this point now, there are literally areas of the company that I'm like in the process of giving to certain people who have risen up and crushed it.
Hey, in the room making that content with us today.
And it's awesome to see that.
Yeah.
Because it's theirs too.
Yeah, you want people to have a little piece of the pie because it gets them to want to, I think, work even harder. And then they just feel even more attached to the brand. Talk about some of the other products that we have here.
Yeah.
I know that you have... Maybe not you have the honey with us, then you also have the honey stick with us. You also have a B.XLR.
I need to get you some
Brain
of those.
Fuel.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
How did you start coming up with all these other ideas?
So honestly, it was just learning about the different applications of these products. So Propolis, like that's always kind of my favorite because it changed my immune system, and I never get sick anymore. You're
taking this stuff every day now?
I take it every day. I do 3 sprays every day. And then if I'm traveling or feeling run down, or, when you wake up with like the tickle in your throat, I'll just go hard with Propolis. Like literally I'll keep it in my purse and I'll just be spraying it all day.
Sorry, one second.
Seriously. No, that is like really how it happens.
I love it.
And I honestly never get sick.
Yeah.
And so it's really great for that. But then B.XLR has a cool story. So Daniel, my COO, he played hockey in college because he's Canadian, and he's had a bunch of concussions. And then a few years ago, he had a really serious concussion skiing. He got knocked unconscious skiing. And especially it was dangerous because of his concussion history. And so I just was like, my brother is knocked unconscious. I kind of went down the research rabbit hole and I put together this natural protocol for him to heal, because concussions are really serious. And the formula I put together for him, it had a bee product in it. It had royal jelly, which is, we were talking about propolis is the immune system of the hive. Honey's their general carbs energy source. Royal jelly is their superfood. It's the food of the queen. It's literally the substance that the queen eats. And if you look at a queen versus a regular bee, a queen bee will live 3 to 5 years versus a regular bee who lives 6 to 8 weeks during foraging season.
Wow.
The queen will lay up to 1,500 babies.
1,500?
Yeah.
Holy
a lot.
Sheesh.
And regular bees don't have reproductive organs. So royal jelly as a compound, it's doing some stuff in nature.
Yeah.
And then for humans, a lot of the research, anecdotally, people have been using royal jelly for everything from hormonal balance to anti-aging. But a lot of the research has been focused on the brain. So royal jelly, it's amazing for the brain. It's really good for just general brain health, but also for focus, memory, concentration. A study came out of University of Warsaw, and it found that royal jelly actually helps to improve your spatial reasoning. So I read all this stuff about royal jelly, and the reason it does that is because royal jelly has something in it called acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter that's responsible for brain-body connection. So if you think about it, royal jelly has something in it that can help to speed up your transmission system. It also has a fatty acid called 10-HDA, and 10-HDA acts as a catalyst for neurogenesis, and it helps with BDNF. So it basically helps your brain to proliferate new cells. And so for anybody, it's just helping the brain to function as it should in a healthy manner. But if you have any sort of brain damage or, aging, people with Alzheimer's or people who have a genetic susceptibility, this is a substance that can really help to just ensure that the brain is functioning the way it should be. And it's kind of a preventative measure. So that was in the formula. And then I put Bacopa monnieri, it's an extract from a leaf. It's traditionally used in Ayurvedic medicine, and it's an adaptogen. So it helps your body to respond to stressors. And then it's also, it's known to be like a memory tonic. So it helps to improve memory. And then ginkgo biloba, which is an extract from a tree. And that one's really great for reducing inflammation in the brain and circulation as well. So I put together these 3 natural ingredients. And started giving it to Daniel, and the way I put it together in that time, it tasted like shit, but he was a brave soldier.
I was going to say, he must have been brave. You're just putting this concoction together. Like, yeah, Daniel, take this.
Yeah.
Hopefully it works.
He trusts me with all the health stuff. I've like earned it at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, you definitely know.
Yeah.
I can hear from the research that you've done, you clearly know the products, that you're not just going to hand him something that you don't believe is going to help him.
Yeah, and like I really wanted him to feel better. So he starts taking the product, and it was his worst concussion and his best recovery. So after I saw that, I was like, okay, what happens if a normal brain takes it? So I started being the guinea pig and using it on myself, as I do with all my products. And I gave it to my friend who was just coming off Adderall. And, I started just sort of testing it, and people were having really amazing results with this B.XLR concoction. And so I was like, okay, let's make this a thing. So I made it into a proper product. We have it it's like a liquid shot. I wish I brought some for you. I'll send you some. That's okay.
Throw them back.
You're going to be on fire
really?
For all your podcasts. It's really cool. It's like you take it, there's no caffeine, there's no sugars, there's no preservatives. It's all plant-based natural ingredients. It's like from the hive and from like trees. But you feel like a really nice sort of cutting through the fog.
Huh.
It's really great for even if you're experiencing brain fog, if you're jet lagged at all. Like I took.
So you'll take that when you land.
Totally, yeah.
Wow.
But it's just a really, even like if I have a big day, and maybe I want to skip coffee, or I just want a sort of boost, I'll take it. But it's nice because you're addressing sort of the symptom. You're addressing like poor memory, brain fog, productivity. Yeah. But you're also taking something that's just generally really healthy for your brain. So even if you had nothing to do that day, it's something that's like a
positively helping.
Yeah, it's really helping.
Yeah, I'm huge on, if it's gonna help me, I'm with it. Like I know I drink a lot of coffee, usually 2 to 3 cups a day. So I know that's not the best thing, but I always am trying to like feed myself the right foods, because I understand how important it is to give yourself the right food. So it's like any little hacks like that, I'm always like, let me try this. I just recently started doing what do they call it, apple cider vinegar or whatever, like a shot of that every morning. I don't even know what I'm taking, but I just always hear people talking, you should take a shot of this every morning.
It's good for digestion. It's alkalizing.
So I think it's important that even if you're not sick, it's like preventing yourself so that doesn't actually happen. We lead aggressive lifestyles today. We're all way too stressed. We're exposed to a lot of pollution. Even when we're trying to eat healthy, it can be really hard because of pesticides and a bunch of other factors. And so I think it is really important to operate at the level that we all want to operate, to incorporate things that are going to help to elevate us and prevent these damaging things that are a product of the environment. Yeah, and some of the products have hemp oil, correct?
Yeah, so we have a Bee Chill line. Okay. So that's our signature sustainably sourced raw honey with high potency hemp oil.
And what is the hemp oil actually doing?
How is CBD. That? So basically it's helping to reduce stress and anxiety, and it can also improve your sleep.
Huh. This is this one right here.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I'm going to save this one for a later date, but damn, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I love taking those. I'll take a teaspoon before bed. We also have them, so we have them by the stick packs for on the go, and then we have them in jars too. The stick pack, I'll keep it in my purse, and I'll usually, if I'm like really anxious or I just have 10,000 things to do in a day, as that happens often, and I find that I'm getting really bad anxiety, I'll take one of those, and it helps to kind of like take the edge off and calm down. Yeah. Hemp oil is also really anti-inflammatory, so it's good for that reason. Yeah. But I love taking it before bed.
So before you leave the house, you're always having some type of product.
Dude, I have like
the spray, the honey, the shot.
The amount of bee products I eat is wild.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got to be the tester of it, and if it's positively helping you, you're not getting sick as much. It's only going to help you continue to keep growing the brand as people are seeing you use the product. It's like, okay, well, she's using it, maybe I should be using it.
Exactly.
The team though, how you're at 14 people today. I always love hearing startups, because then it's like, you started as just you, now you have 14 people.
Yeah, it was literally just me a year ago.
That's unbelievable. How has that growth been in going from I run this company to now I'm a leader of people? That's a big difference.
It was, okay, so it's hard in some ways. I've been really lucky. I have a really amazing team. And Daniel, he really is a leader as well. And, we're like very much partners. We always joke that we're mom and dad. We have a really amazing team of individuals who are committed to this company for some really interesting reasons. Like almost everyone on the team has a personal health journey. a reason that they feel really aligned and connected, or on the sustainability side, they're really connected. Like our head of sales did a master's in sustainability, same with customer service. So every single person on the team is really connected to just the core brand values. And we also we have a team style. Another really valuable thing I learned from being at Goldman, because I didn't love my job, but I didn't love my team. So I really also wanted to create an environment that I want to work at every day. And I wanted to really take the opposite approach and create a place that feels like family and that everyone wants to be at and everyone is like sharing in the goals. And that's kind of what we have at Beekeepers. So we do very much run the business family style. Everyone is super tight. Everybody is really committed to their own personal development, and they're given a lot of runway to just kind of go with things. Like I love giving people free space to create with a supportive mentorship structure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of encouraged all throughout the team. And it's not just me, our sort of earlier team members step up and they support our new team members all the time. And it's amazing to see. So far it's been really great. It's definitely the thing that's hard is my job's constantly changing. My job used to be everything. It used to be and it still is everything, but it becomes higher level everything. It becomes a lot more theoretical, and that has been really hard for me because I'm very start this, get it done. I want to see the task complete.
Yeah.
And then it's in raising fundraising and these things that are a little bit more interpersonal in nature. And so just being able to kind of pivot and grow with the company and be the biggest thing that I've learned is personally being really comfortable being bad at shit. Because as the company grows at every stage, my job radically changes.
Yeah.
And anytime you take on a new job, you suck.
Yeah.
Every single thing that I start doing new, I'm bad at it.
Yeah.
I have to get good at it.
Yeah.
And so I've become really comfortable sucking at stuff.
Yep.
And just holding on to the fact that I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to be awesome at this soon.
Yeah. I feel like the hardest part is got to be too of just now you have to give trust to people to get things done. So before, I always loved the idea of putting the weight on my shoulders because I know if I need to get something done, I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
But then it becomes, I don't have the time to do all these things. So now I'm just micromanaging all these people and I'm giving them the trust that they're going to execute it and do this correctly and professionally. But also I think then it works and you believe in it because you're hiring the right people and you're making sure that everyone on board is on that same message of we know what we're here to do.
Definitely. Delegating was really hard for me.
Yeah.
It got to a place where it was because I also was sort of slow to hire certain people. I probably should have built the team a little bit earlier than I started because I was I know how to do everything.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I was kind of close to burnout and I was I'm slowing down the company now.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's really about, and what I like to do, because I do want to be, not just for the company, I think it really adds something special when somebody is authentically building and there for reasons that are really true to them.
Mm-hmm.
But also for me, I get a lot of fulfillment seeing people sort of rise up in their career. So I love finding people who are maybe a little bit earlier into the game and just working really closely with them and watching them evolve. And then they end up becoming a badass. And the ultimate goal, which has happened several times at the company so far, is they become better than I am at the job. And that's the best.
Yeah. I think we can get intimidated by the fact that somebody's smarter than us. But if you're not surrounding yourself with people that are smarter, then you're literally doing yourself dirty almost.
The best thing I can do at this company is make sure that everyone's smarter than me.
Yeah.
That's what I look for. I love that.
Yeah. What have you found? I know you had mentioned early on you had gotten into 600 stores in Canada. There was Whole Foods. How else are you growing it today?
So most of our sales are online, direct to consumer from our website.
Amazing. That's the best possible case.
It's awesome. And because we have the cause component, so we're a benefit corp, we work really closely with UC Davis Bee Research, and we really are all about saving the bees. So we practice sustainable beekeeping in all of our production. And then we're also really trying to educate about the role that bees play, because bees pollinate 1/3 of our food supply.
I saw that on your website. That's a big issue now.
It's a huge issue, because think about that. Every third bite of food you take was made by bees. If we lose the bees, bit of a problem.
Huh.
Yeah.
And do you think most people are aware of this issue or probably not?
I think that they have an awareness, but they don't realize the gravity of it.
Yeah.
Like if we lose the bees, we literally will completely disrupt our ecosystem. And so that's part of why we love selling online as well, because that's the place where we can really kind of educate, bring them into the family, teach them like why we care about this and how they can have impact as well. But yeah, I think people are kind of just waking up to it. And, you know, it's hard. There's so many issues today. It's really easy to gloss over something, and for the common person to gloss over something that's like an insect.
Yeah.
But if we have like a food crisis, you know, it's not gonna be so easy to correct.
I think it's literally a full-time job trying to keep up with everything that's happening in the world and kind of what we should be doing differently, whether it's gas or, you know, not burning as much gasoline in our cars or making sure the bees are good. It's so hard to keep up with everything. But I also think too, it's like not one person can change the world. So it's like, if you guys can at least start and be that 15 people that are screaming out, protect the bees, like stop doing X, Y, and Z. It's like, you can't be mad with how the results are. It's like you're at least taking control and trying to make a difference. But yeah, there's just so much going on in this world that I feel like it's difficult to keep up with. What's next for Beekeepers Natural? That's always a big question. And I get the question a lot of like, what's next for content? What do you want to see the podcast go? But I would imagine there's probably something inside you that you visioning this sort of slowly becoming bigger into.
Yeah. So we are definitely building. The big thing for us is just getting the word out. So sharing our message, sharing our story, why we do what we do, and how the brand is different. Little things like we're one of the few bee product companies that practices third-party pesticide testing. All of the sustainability, the reason our product quality is so different, and educating about what these things are. What's propolis versus pollen versus royal jelly? Like the average person only knows honey. So I think we have a lot to do on the content side, just to kind of content exactly, just to share what we're all about and help people find what's right for them. But we're also trying to improve the user experience at every step. So we have like 2 nutritionists that work for the company that are on hand, and you can actually text into the company and ask them nutrition related questions with products. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so we try to just be really sort of forward thinking, and more than just be a product company, we want to create a brand that is there to help you. We want to demystify the entire world of natural health, because it is like framed by my own experience. I was just like taking shit that promised to heal me. I didn't really know what it was. And I think that's a lot of the natural world. It's for the most part unregulated and over marketed. Yeah. And we want to kind of apply a scientific approach, give you stuff you can trust, and create a structure where you can properly understand it, and then at the same time really educate about the cause. So just continuing to kind of share that story and optimize, and then down the line it's just, you know, building our product line, and eventually we'll focus more on retail as well, and make sure that the brand and products are accessible to everyone.
Has it been a big help from you going from New York to now being out here based for the business? Like, do you find that the connections you're making have been much more
definitely
aligned with the brand?
There's New York has a great wellness scene too, and I miss New York, and I still spend a lot of
hustle
time
and bustle,
there.
You can't
that energy is just like very me.
It's contagious.
Yeah. So I still go out there a lot, and it's still my second home. But there's no arguing the fact that, you know, LA is where the health scene is booming, and I get to connect with a lot of really cool people and founders, and just kind of being on the front lines of it. So it has been
I think that's
powerful.
one of the big things that I love about LA is like, if you're not trying to be healthy and work out and eat right, you're like the odd person out here, you know? Like the fact that you came here with green ice cream, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh my God, it's so LA, but I love it at the same time, because like I had said earlier, it's like I'm big on like feeding our bodies the right food, working out, and like mentally, physically, like getting us on point. But a product like that, it has to only thrive in LA, because people are always looking for the next big thing. Yeah. And they're always looking for ways to benefit themselves. And this is definitely one of the first products that I've seen like this at all. So it's cool to even get you here today, also because of like, I'm not seeing anybody else push honey or anything that you guys are putting out, compared to, you know, you get a lot of green teas, you get a lot of liquid additive stuff, but this is definitely very unique in itself. How has meditation positively helped you?
Oh my gosh, it's helped me so much.
Yeah, I know that's big. I know it's big with you, right?
Yeah, I meditate a lot. I try to. It's not always easy for me. I'm very like overactive mind, But it's been really helpful because I trend towards anxiety and I take on more and more. And as the company grows, there's more amazing opportunity and it's so exciting, but there's also more pressure. And so helping to kind of take a step back and give my brain a break and kind of come back to what's important.
Yeah.
It's really impactful. So meditation is really big. And then doing like this is so simple, but like literally a gratitude list. And then every night and every morning or, one or the other, just writing down a few things you're grateful for. It's really powerful to help you take stock of what really matters because things do move fast and there are always fuck ups and, it's a roller coaster. And so you need to take a step back.
Are you doing the meditation on a daily basis as well?
I try to. I try to do it in just like 5 minutes in the morning.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and I get on my phone and start doing emails, which I know is the wrong
Don't
thing.
Don't do it.
Yeah, but I have a big effort to keep meditating and I try to. And I do yoga like once or twice a week too.
Yeah. That's the thing is like as much as we want to see things grow, it gets overwhelming because then there's so many more people that need your attention and have questions for you and they can't move forward until you give them the go. I don't know. I kind of like had that thought the other day. It's like I need to enjoy this whole growth. People say like enjoy the journey, enjoy the growth, but it's like I'll wake up tomorrow, I'm not having tons of people asking for my attention and it's great, but then you get to a point where your business scales and now everybody needs answers from you and you're like I would wake up, probably start answering emails just like you probably do.
That's been really hard for me, and so that's how like I used to have like a weird attitude about the whole self-care thing. But that's where I really had to take it because as the company grows, if you're not growing with it, then you're not going to be able to rise up. So, I have like a executive coach and I try and do the meditation and I try and like time block my day and I have all these little like tools and hacks and even like what I'm eating, how I'm exercising, all these things create like me and my ability to function at a high level. I have to be there because I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah, you do have a lot on your plate. You got to be ready to go. Anything comes your way, you got to be ready to go. I also had read that success to you is having the freedom to choose.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially in my old career, I felt like I had to do something. I felt really locked into something. I think just having it's such a blessing having freedom and being able to get clear with yourself and have a conversation with yourself and having the ability to do what you want. That's the most amazing thing, being able to dig deep and find what's going to impact you and what's authentic to who you are and move forward with that is really a gift. And a lot of people don't have that. Yeah,
a lot of people don't. I think it's like and you would probably agree because I at this point in my life could never live working for someone else / not being able to do what I want when I want. But I think a lot of times people think of it as like, oh, they do whatever they want. But I feel like you end up working twice as hard because you're in control of your time.
Yeah, I always like Daniel and I always joke how like I work for everyone else at the company. But I also have worked really hard to create a situation where I have the freedom to choose ultimately. Yeah. And I love what I do. So like, I'm happy to support everyone else like that. It's like the most amazing thing to do that. But creating a situation where you have the freedom to choose is really hard. And a lot of people kind of get locked into what they think they can do when they can do more. Yeah. And they don't really go for it. Yeah.
And I also think too, it's like that security. I'll get around to it. I'll do it next month or 6 months from now. And it is hard. That's the thing, right? That's what this podcast is all about. Stories like you. It's like the fact that people are calling you crazy for even starting this bee company. Like you're about to quit your job at Goldman Sachs in New York City. Like that's literally what this podcast is all about because there's a very small percentage of people that will take that leap. But that's all you need is one example. I think all you need is one example of a success story of somebody taking the leap, and you just replicate it. You just do it yourself. But I mean, if it was easy, then I think a lot more people would be doing the thing they actually love. And I don't think a lot of people are, which scares me. I feel very fortunate because I feel like the people I've been connecting with in LA are all go-getters. They love what they do. Moving out to LA in July of 2017, it was like September of 2017, it was like a clean slate. I didn't know anybody out here, so I'm looking for podcast guests, looking for passionate people, and then these end up becoming the friends of mine. Well, if I pull myself out of this environment, I realize like, damn, how fortunate am I that I'm literally only surrounded by people that are young go-getters, love what they do, they're kicking ass. But I think for a lot of people, it's maybe they don't have those friends around them that are doing these things, so they figure, oh, they're going out this weekend, I'll just go out with them, and then we'll all work all week, and then back at it again, back at it again. It's just like this over cycle of just doing shit you hate, which I really hope people don't end up doing.
Well, you have to seek out inspiration. That's why things like this podcast are so amazing.
Yeah.
I know for me, like I didn't have anybody who was, doing the entrepreneurial thing or thought that what I wanted to do was a good idea. So I spent a lot of time reading and listening to podcasts and seeking out alternate areas of inspiration, and also just like getting clear with myself and building my own confidence in order to do it. And then a big thing for me too that I just want to share for anybody who's like maybe struggling to make the leap. I spent so long saying like, I'm not the type of person to do this. I'm not good enough to do this. I don't know how to be a CEO. Like that's such bullshit. These are just bullshit narratives that we hold that hold us back. And the truth is like your choices define you much more than your abilities do. Like I don't think I'm the smartest person in the room. I just worked really fucking hard and didn't stop when it got challenging, and anyone can do that.
Make the choice. Just do it. Just do it. If you had to cross off any bucket list item today, what would it be?
Today?
Yeah.
I'd like to go bungee jumping.
Oh, that's savage. You want to go bungee jumping?
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
I mean, that's just what came to me right now. There's a lot of like travel related, cool climbing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. Maybe I'll join you. I don't know if I could bungee jump.
All the adventure stuff.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. What do you think Carly's purpose is?
I think it is to help other people realize their full potential, whether it's, give them products that help them to heal so that they can go and crush it in their life the way they want, or helping people to feel a part of something, feel a part of a cause, a part of a movement, or even, people on my team or in my personal life. I really feel like full when I'm playing some small role in watching somebody else grow.
Yeah. It's amazing when you can find that fulfillment and how much that like gives you that sense of purpose. And it just I don't know, I feel like that ends up getting you up and out of bed every morning. It gives you some fuel to the fire. But I think sometimes it's difficult. Like the purpose question, I feel like for some people, it's always this scary thing. And honestly, it's a really good question to ask people when you're trying to get to know them, because you'll quickly be able to tell if somebody has their shit figured out or if they have no idea what's going on, which is fine. We all have to go through that process. But I think when you can kind of get a sense of what that purpose is, everything else makes sense. You start to find the answers to a lot of the questions that you didn't have, and it at least gives you some sense of direction. Before I get into closing questions, this is when I reverse the role. I allow the guests to ask me any one question. Could be about something we talked about today. 2 rules. 1, it can't be a question I already asked you today. And 2, it can't be directly about the podcast.
Okay.
Any one question.
Okay, this isn't directly about the podcast, but you talk to a lot of inspirational people, and you obviously have a lot of like off the mic conversations too.
Yeah.
What is the story or piece of advice or just thing that's impacted your life the most that you've heard from one of your guests?
That's a great question. There was a podcast I had, let's see, this was probably like 3 months ago. His name was Houston Kraft. He's a speaker. He goes to a lot of schools, talks to a lot of people, just very positive and just giving person. He works directly with like high schools and middle schools and does like speeches. And for a long time, at least for building this podcast, I feel like, I was so head down on just like build. And I would make excuses for not doing certain things because I had to do this, to build this, right? And I don't know if it was during the podcast or after this podcast, he kind of made a comment of like, and it wasn't directly saying it to me, but he was, saying out loud, like, are we doing these things for the intention of helping people? Or are we doing it for the intention of doing it for ourselves? There's a big difference, like, are you, at the end of the day, like you want to see this product help other people, but maybe there's part of you inside that is pushing you to grow this to as big as it can just because you want to prove to yourself that it's possible. And that kind of triggered my mind. I was trying to rationalize not going home for Christmas. It was like, you know, it's across the country. I drive Uber out here full time. It's a good time of year to be in LA. The people who need rides, like, I should stay out here. And after that conversation, also my buddy was getting booked home for a show, for a concert. I was like, what? At the end of the day, it's like, money's going to come and go. Like, people, this is going to slowly grow. The podcast is going to slowly grow with time. But like, experiences and like the moments with like the people that actually matter the most, that's what is mattered. Like, that's what matters. If I strip all this away, it's like I still have certain people in my life. And so I think the advice I don't even think he realized how much his conversation had impacted me. It was about more of like being very mindful of the decisions I'm making, and is the reasoning truly the reasoning? Like, am I doing this because I want this to just keep growing? Yes, but to a certain extent, it's like, what's the balance? You know? So yeah. I think for me, the advice, without him directly saying, was like, pay attention to the balance of your life and make decisions consciously. And if you literally keep your head down the entire time and try to just build, you're going to miss out on a lot of things that are happening around your life. Like, you know, so I think I've been trying to get better at is just making decisions of spending more time with people and just putting everything down, and maybe like calling my parents at random or calling my sister, or just like, I don't know. It was just for a long time building this. I felt like I was just so in the trenches of building, which I think anybody has to go through. And those early stages, like, you have to go hard because nobody sees the vision you have. Yeah. Nobody believes it. And you're the only person on the team that can make these things happen. So it's like, I got to send the emails. I need to work on the product. I need to get the website updated. There's like so many things going on. It's like, I don't have time to go home and relax and vacation. So I think that was a switch of just like, you're going to get to a point where people understand what you're trying to do. Nothing you're going to do today is immediately going to change everything you're doing. Like, try to enjoy those moments. And I went home for Christmas, was hungover the entire week. Went out all with my family and friends, but I think that there's been so many gems. I think I could literally write a book on just all the little gems and nuggets that I've gotten from all these people. But most recently, that was probably one that kind of made me start looking at things a little bit differently.
That's a good one. That's really important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you find that like at all in the early stages for yourself? Like, you just were head down, trying to build? I
still struggle with that. I'm just such a, I want to finish what I start. Yeah. And so I have to like really actively pull myself out and organize time with friends. And that's part of why it's so important to me that we're like friends on our team. I mean, it's a company. We take our job seriously. Absolutely. There's like a hierarchy there. Yeah. But we really, I really like everyone. Yeah. Because I know myself and I know that I'm going to work a lot. Like, my COO is like my best friend ever, you know, and everyone on the team I love. But that, like, I intentionally did that knowing that it's so important to have those social ties and be with people who fill you up and light you up. And if I'm going to be a person who works a lot, like, I better be able to carve it out, at least internally. Yeah. And be with people that are actually giving me the spirits to keep going, or people that I'm going to ask for advice and want to hear what they have to say because we're good friends and Definitely. I believe that they're here for the right reasons. Yeah. But beyond that too, like, I do really work on carving out time, and more I'm doing that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's important. It definitely is. Closing questions for you. Where can people find you on social media, and where can they find Beekeepers Natural on social media? Yeah. So Carly, my Instagram is stein.carly. Mm-hmm. I'm on Facebook as well. Mm-hmm. And then it's our brand, which is much more fun, is Beekeepers_Naturals. We have a Facebook page. We're all across social. And then our website is beekeepersnaturals.com. Mm-hmm. You can find all of our products there. We have an awesome blog with just like the best content, everything from like recipes to like weird health info. Mm-hmm. We have an incredible writer on our team. And yeah, come check out our stuff. So, and if you guys are listening, make sure you go to Carly's Instagram, drop a bunch of bearded man emojis on her recent post so she knows you're coming from the podcast.
before I ask the last question, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate you taking
Thank
the
you so
time, coming out to the
much.
Valley, making some content at the content crib.
Love it.
But yeah, I mean, just before you even got here, having doing the research and just looking into kind of what you guys had going on, I was very interested in learning more. And I love the passion you have for this. Like, there were so many words you were rambling off about the things that are
I know.
helped to build, and I'm just like, I don't know what any of this means, but I love the passion. You know, like it's amazing when you find people that are doing things for the right reason. The why you started it was because you were just trying to help yourself, but then obviously just getting it to where it is today. It's clearly like your passion. You would have gave up a long time ago if this was about the money.
Yeah.
So your story is what this podcast is all about, and especially seeing you go from like Goldman Sachs to taking that leap to becoming an entrepreneur. I think that's what and I didn't really get to say this earlier, but as I told you, when I was graduating college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I figured out the podcast. I knew that it was going to be harder for me to just get a career and then to get out of it versus let me just skip that step and not have to deal with, I don't want to be here, and let's just get right into it. So I respect even more people that are able to go through that process where you had just said people are telling you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't quit, blah, blah, blah. That's such another mental game. And I can only imagine what it would have been like to have gone through that. So thank you for sharing the story. Last question for you. For somebody that's listening, hasn't found that passion, hasn't found that purpose just yet, what's the best 2 to 3 pieces of advice you'd give to them?
Okay, so first of all is be kind to yourself. We all, like, I fell into this. I was sick my entire life. Wandered into a pharmacy in Italy, and like, I really fell into this.
Yeah.
So don't beat yourself up because you don't have like a massive startup or an idea tomorrow, and don't just take an idea that's not authentic to you.
Yeah.
But let yourself find it, and how you can find it is get out of your comfort zone. I got out of my comfort zone. I went traveling alone, but get out of your comfort zone. You don't have to go traveling. That's obviously not accessible to everyone. But do things that excite you and scare you, and keep doing things that scare you. And I really believe if you lead a life where you lean into fear, you will find growth in a big way.
I love that. Carly Stein, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys next time. See ya!